Let's start off in Anambra State, where no fewer than 2.8 million voters are expected to decide who governs Anambra State for the next 4 years. The governorship election is the first to be held under the new chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Joash Amupitan, who assumed office on the 23rd of October. INEC said a total of 2,802,790 registered voters were eligible to participate, including 140,370 newly registered voters across the state's 326 wards. Earlier, some observers joined us to discuss what they feel about the conduct of the election so far.
Heavily populated voter center, and usually by now you will see very long queues and all that, and then behind me you're seeing trickles of people. As a matter of fact, we have what looks like crowd because some of them are just standing to see. Those who are queuing are just very little. But interesting news, just behind me is the only polling unit in this polling station that has the magnifying glasses for persons with albinism. Now the reason for that is because we guided INEC in terms of where to deploy, and because we within our data it indicates that we have one person with albinism, they deployed one magnifying glasses in readiness for that person. That's a good development, because you don't want to disenfranchise anybody just because that person is one person. One person can change the dynamics of what the result will look like, so there are interesting dynamics playing out. I moved around. My focus was on the vehicular movement. I wanted to see what the street looks like, and the streets are empty. The security operatives at the roadblocks are a bit more cooperative. When they saw the fact that I was an observer, they opened the door for us to go. One of them was proving a little bit stubborn because he was talking to the driver. So I kept saying to him, look at me, I'm the one he's carrying. The vehicle has INEC clearance, and when he saw that, he just quickly opened and we passed. So there are also incidences where they sort of like, I would call it delay, not necessarily an arrest, where people that didn't have the permission were cordoned off. They were cordoned off and told to park.
This election has been underpinned by 3 tests. The first test is efficiency test, and what we were actually observing is whether INEC will break the jinx of late commencement of elections, because in multiple election cycles, 2013, 2017, 2021, INEC has recorded late commencement across polling units. But for this election, there seemed to be an improvement. One of the things that we have observed is that there was early commencement in about 48% of polling units, and this is based on IAGA Africa's statistical sample. So in 48% of polling units, the election officials arrived at 7:30. And so it does show that there is an improvement in the deployment and the management of election logistics. I think what's a bit concerning is just the level of turnout. As you can see, in this polling unit, there were over 3,000 voters, but I doubt if we've had over 300 voters who are casting their vote here. So that's the biggest concern.
Now, the APC governorship candidate for Anambra State, Nicholas Ukachukwu, has alleged voter buying and voters' intimidation at the ongoing state election. He made these allegations shortly after casting his vote at Ward 2, Unit 12 at Osume Community, Nnewi South local government area of the state. He voted at about 11:43 a.m.
It feels good to be part of a process that will move this state forward. Not because I'm the one running as a candidate of APC, but because I'm an Anambra citizen with a full right to vote and voted for. So I'm happy to be here to vote. Well, you see, when you're a candidate, you want to vote, they are called this kind of celebrative treatment. But from what I've been hearing from here and there, There'll be hitches, small problem here and there. There'll be security challenges here and there. But loudly, there have been vote buying. And then that has become the biggest menace that actually will shunt this country to a point of standstill. But it will come to a point that when people get the opportunity to be in power, they don't have to do anything. Well, my observation is what I'm trying to tell you now. From one or two things, and then as one or two places my people have visited, and then here in my community, complaints here and there. Right now, there are many things that are going up, issue of vote buying, and maybe some of you would have noticed it. And it is collective treasury that is being looted and shared back to people to get back the mandate. So it is a very bad thing, and everybody should condemn it. What should be done right is for security agents to actually live up to the challenges, and then if they do, they can curb it. And if they do, it will make a lot of difference. And then people will be able to stand up, people will be able to wake up and do the things they should do when given mandate to. And that's actually the right thing to be done.
All right, we're now joined by our correspondents in two different regions in Anambra State, Austin Azu and Chinwe, who are covering the elections in the state as we speak. Austin, let me start off with you. Where exactly are you and what's the situation of things there? And has there been an improvement in the turnout?
Obio in Leone local government area of Anambra State, and we are at Ward 1, Unit 001, 002, and 003. So currently here at the moment, voting has ended, sorting is on the way, and thereafter counting will follow. At Unit 002, they just finished sorting and counting not quite long. And the presiding officer will announce the results, and she will post it on the wall for the voters to see. But nevertheless, we have one of those voters here to speak to us how the process has been like. Okay. We have Godwin Okolie. Okay, bring God. Okay, tell us. Look at the camera. Tell us how was the voting process like?
Okay, the voting is successful. As you can see, people come out in mass to vote today, and they are all happy. So, by the grace of God, everywhere is calm. So, and we are voting with shots. People are happy today.
Okay, were there any kind of vote buying in this place? Be honest.
No, I won't lie with you. They are not going to start today. We won't even get vote buying today. Everybody, sometimes I want people that they don't need money. They want to vote their choice today. So,
okay, tell us again. Was there presence of security personnel here?
Yes, we have like about eight or 7 policemen here. Even though sometimes some policemen will come with their vehicle, like supervising. So the security personnel they were here today.
So how will you rate INEC in this particular unit?
I say kudos to INEC. For the very first time, this is the first time I ever seen this kind of election. Very clean, transparent, and successful.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kenneth. We appreciate you. All right, Blessing, you have heard it from one of the voters here who actually described the process that went through at this particular place. We hope to move further than this to see how the sorting and counting is going in other polling units. Thereafter, we'll update you with the happenings in those areas. So back to you, Blessing.
Before we let you go, I want to find out what the security situation is. We have been talking extensively about the lack of adequate security, despite the fact that thousands were deployed to the state alone. What is the security situation in your area? Because, I mean, this is probably why there are reports of voter intimidation in other areas.
In terms of security, we saw the presence of security personnel comprising the police, the NRC, the Nigerian Army, and so on and so forth, that complemented each other for this election. However, from the PPRO, we saw a statement released about the show of force by the Nigeria police in some areas considered to be red zones, but at this ongoing exercise, the place, according to the statements, that the place is calm, and not only that as well, they deployed a cutting-edge technology, method to as a surveillance to ensure that every part of the state is well secured and policed. So, however, at this point right now, you can still say that counting has started after sorting the ballot papers. So it's obvious that a minute from now, the result from this particular polling unit will be declared by the INEC officials at this polling unit. So back to you, Blessing.
Azu, thank you so much for the update from your polling unit. Subsequently, we'll have Chinwe Ogele also speak to us from where she is, and of course, Victor Mbadike is also covering the Anambra elections as we speak. You're still live with us on the news. We go on a break, and when we come back, NRC seeks government support in protecting tracks. We've got the details of this and more in a moment. Many thanks for staying with us. We're still covering the elections in Anambra State, and before the break we heard from Austin Azu regarding the alleged vote buying and the security situation in his region. Right now, my colleague Chinwe Ogele, who is also covering the elections, is on standby to tell us what the situation is from her own region. Chinwe, what's the situation in your area regarding security especially, and the turnout, and how the voting is going generally?
Thank you, Blessings. So far, the elections, some parts of the state are still going on, but so far it's been very peaceful. No incidents of violence or disturbances anywhere. And at this point, the exercise is officially ended, but then there are still voting going on in some polling units that started behind shadow or had issues with their beavers or for whatever reasons. So, but some polling units have already concluded theirs, like the one behind me, 006 at Ozala School here in Ekulobia. They've already sorted their ballots and about counting the ballots. So, whereas the one in front of me, the polling unit in front of me, are still the voters are still queued up, still voting. So, like the rec did say this morning, until all the people that are on the queue complete their voting, nobody is going to send anybody away. Anybody that is on the queue will be allowed to vote. So that is the situation right now here. I have here with me a clergy. Hello, sir. Okay, please, can you look at the camera? Who I'd like to share your experience so far with the election. What's your name, sir?
My name is Apostle Prince Tony Ezabasele.
Okay, so tell me, how did the election go?
So far, the election has been smooth and okay, very, very okay. And there's no challenges, actually.
Okay, is there anything you noticed that went wrong?
The only thing I noticed at the moment is that some people came and they were prevented from voting for no just cause. But I think that they're about to solve the problem right now.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay, so like I said, the one behind me ended voting at 3 p.m. Actually, people stopped coming at around 2 p.m., but they held on, the officials held on to wait for people to still turn out. So it did appear that when they finally decided to, sort and count, more people turned out, and that's why you're hearing the noises behind me.
Thank you for the update on that. Definitely we'll circle back to see how it's going as the elections wind down. As we can see, the vote counting is ongoing. We'll definitely come back to you to find out the update. Thank you again. And now, Kogi State Governor Usman Ododo has inaugurated 80 revitalized primary healthcare centers under the first phase of the World Bank-supported Impact Project. The initiative is in partnership with the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, which aims at strengthening healthcare delivery at the grassroots and also curbing maternal and child mortality rates in the state. News Central's Mono Balagobo reports from Lokoja.
The event, held at the Government House in Lokoja, followed a series of stakeholder engagements organized by the Ministry of Health in partnership with the State Primary Healthcare Development Agency and the World Bank Impact Project.
Our expectations are that healthcare services in these facilities will run for 24 hours every day, which translates to available, consistent, efficient, and effective healthcare service delivery all time.
Special guest at the event, Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Muyi Aina, assured that the federal government is committed to improving access to healthcare and doubling the number of functional primary healthcare centers across the country.
We are more than doubling the number of primary health centers that will be receiving basic healthcare provision funds. From Q3, right now there are about 237, thereabouts. We're at 38, 39, 239. We're adding another 249.
The ceremony also featured presentation of certificates of recognition to top performing local government areas that excelled in meeting set standards in healthcare delivery. Governor Usman Ododo urged communities to safeguard public health infrastructure and assured residents that the revitalization drive will bring quality healthcare closer to the grassroots.
This property, this investment is for all of us. It's going to serve us. It has addressed so many things. It's going to generate employment. It's helping me and the entire state across the country to address the issue of insecurity. Because somebody from Omala, somebody from Yaba West, somebody from Ogorimagogo would have been rushing, risking their life to Lokoja to have access to healthcare. But today, that is over.
Experts say that Kogi State is taking a major step towards reducing preventable deaths and improving the well-being of its citizens. In Kogi for News Central, Moino Balagbubu.
Now, Commissioner for Information and Communications for Kogi State, Kingsley Fanwo, joins us to speak more on this. Thank you so much, Kingsley, for joining us. Can you explain the specific criteria used to select the 80 primary healthcare centers that are revitalized under the first phase of the Impact Project?
Thank you very much. I'm joining you live from Takitede in Mopamo local government area of the state. I want to tell you that it's a major breakthrough in healthcare delivery in the state. 80 were commissioned yesterday. We have about 239 that are ongoing. We're having a partnership with the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency and the World Bank. And the state government is also pumping a lot of funds into it to ensure that we have functional primary healthcare centers in all of the wards in the state. And what we are working on right now is about 239. 80 have been commissioned yesterday. More will be commissioned in the coming months. And 249 others are coming, according to the Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Muyiwa Aina. And you will see that the commitment of the governor towards this is huge. He's committed to ensuring that we have functional primary healthcare development center. That's what can actually unlock the pathways to having good healthcare at the rural areas, the well-being of the people, and all of that.
So how is the state ensuring transparency and accountability? Because that's usually what people are big on in terms of disbursement and utilization of the funds.
Thank you very much. World Bank, assisted projects. When World Bank is doing anything anywhere, you have to follow the global best practices. As an administration, we have inbuilt mechanism for ensuring accountability and transparency. Remember, the governor is a forensic auditor, a chartered auditor. So we are ensuring transparency and accountability, and that's why we are having the kind of results we are having in that field. It is not all about the funds. It's also about having the best team. I want to say that the best health team in the history of the state is what we have right now, being led by the coordinating commissioner, Dr. Adeza Adams. And you can see that it's it's working very well in the state. I'm currently in Takete, the village. You have 2 primary healthcare centers projects are ongoing simultaneously right now. And all of the villages around here, those projects are ongoing. So we have a platform, we have a very transparent and accountable platform for executing this project. So, the issue of transparency is not an issue at all.
So before we let you go, we also want to find out how will the government sustain these facilities financially, even after the World Bank support phase ends, because maintenance is another challenge that we have in this part of the world.
Yes, we have a structure for maintenance. It is not that we are building new ones. What we are doing right now is to strengthen the existing ones that we have across the state by ensuring that we do not only improve on the architectural development of those primary healthcare centers, but also to ensure that we provide solar power. We have to power the health sector in such a way that they have 24 hours electricity. And the best way to do that, judging by the situation of power in the country, is to go green. And that's why we are having solar power to be able to power those places. We also have water. So they have water, they have power. We are also building staff quarters so that it is not an issue of the person working at the healthcare center in the village has gone to his own or her own house. They have a quarter where they can live and then be able to work 24 hours every day. So maintenance is not an issue. Like I said, Governor Usman Ododo has become Mr. Primary Healthcare. He's such a person that has understood the need to strengthen primary healthcare so that people don't have to travel to their local government headquarters or the state capital to access the basic health care. And this is what he's investing a lot of resources to be able to, we are involving the community. We're involving the traditional rulers. And the executive director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency said it yesterday that Kogi has a robust structure. The traditional rulers are involved, the workers are involved, the local government councils are involved. So you have a very robust stakeholder structure to be able to manage these facilities. And the governor has already challenged communities to take ownership of these facilities and ensure that they protect those facilities from vandalism. What Kogi is building in the next 2 years, Kogi would be the best in terms of delivering primary health care to the rural poor.
All right, really, really good to know that, and hopefully these promises will be followed through. Thank you so much for joining us and shedding more light on this development. We appreciate your time. You're still live with us on the news. We go on a short break now. When we come back, more stories. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. We're still talking about the Anambra elections, and before the break, we had our correspondents Austin Azu and Chimogele give us the breakdown of what's happening in their different regions. They've told us about the security situation and how the voting has come to an end and vote counting is underway, and in no time the results will be out. In the meantime, we have my colleague, our correspondent, News Central's correspondent, Victor Mbadike, who's also monitoring the Anambra State election, and we will be discussing with a guest subsequently. But in the meantime, Victor, if you can hear me, what's the update on the election in your region regarding the vote counting that is now ongoing, the security situation, and the alleged vote buying that we earlier recorded?
Oh, well, as you all know already, the voting has ended officially, and sorting and counting has already begun in most of the polling centers in Awka South, where I am still currently at. So this is where they call Agwoka, Agrima Junction 1 here, polling unit 009. If you look just right behind me, sorting has actually ended at this polling unit. So they are basically counting, but if you want to come closer, you got to see what it looks like. Toast in place. All right, so this is what it looks like. Sorting has already ended here for some minutes ago, and so what you already see going on right now is a counting of the ballots. So, but there seems to be an argument, there seems to be a misunderstanding between party agents and, of course, electoral officials over the invalid votes. We understand that they feel that these votes are actually correct. Those who cast their thumb written on the ballot papers actually did correctly. That's what the party agents are saying. Of course, the electoral officials are saying no, there are certain things that should not be done. Now, for instance, can I have one of the ballot boxes that seems to have done wrong, please, if you don't mind? Yes, one of the ballot boxes that seems to have done wrong. The invalid ones, you still have them? Okay, so this is an example. So if you see this, it's already done. But really, I don't know if this is accepted, but clearly it's not going to be accepted as far as INEC is concerned. So this is one of the arguments that the party agents are having. They are saying that they can see the thumbprints on their party logo. Okay, and so for that reason, it should be accepted. But electoral officials are saying no, it's even the thumbprint itself is actually faint. They can't actually see clearly, and again, it's done. So this is part of the argument. Do you have another one again? So let's see this. So here is another invalid vote that the electoral officials said they will not count, but that of course is causing another upheaval from party agents who are saying clearly that, well, if you look at this clearly, I don't know if you can see clearly, there are two places that were printed, or if you can see that clearly, but one is more clearer than the other. So the election officials are saying this cannot go because the person thumb printed in two different places, I mean two different party logos. But of course the party agent are saying, but even if that's the case, one of them is more pronounced, one of them is more clearer, so that one that is clear should go. And they are saying that as party agents, they have decided that this is okay, so that should, but the election officials are not having any of that. So that's one of the issues right here. But we don't know how this is going to pan out, but clearly there seems to be a back and forth with party agents and electoral officials. But at the moment, blessings, you can see clearly the counting is on here at polling unit 9, Agoka, here at Awema Junction.
Mbadike, thank you for the update. That was the polling unit 9 at Abuja Junction, and definitely Victor has brought to the fore some of the intricacies of the electoral process, the disputes, the subtle disputes on whether or not some of the voting is allowed, and we'll definitely get to the bottom of that in no time. Thank you once again, Victor. Now, to discuss the election, we're joined by member Civil Rights Concerns, Oke Ude. Okay, Ude, thank you so much for joining us. We're still talking about the elections. What are your thoughts on the significance of the 2.8 million registered voters participating in the Anambra governorship elections, assuming that all 2.8 million are participating?
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Oke Ude from Civil Rights Concern. The number is quite big comparing to the number of registered, the population of the state. Although not when compared to other states of the country, it's quite small. But we're actually concerned in terms of the percentage that actually turns out to vote. This year's election is quite better than the previous one in terms of number of people that came out to vote. For the previous election that brought in the current governor, there was huge security concerns, and so the election managed to go through that year. But this year, in as much as still having security problems, but it's not as much as it's not to be compared with what happened when the governor was previously elected. Actually, we expected more people to come out. But my impressions about the number that came out, the president that actually came out, is that well, it's good because when I was watching the preparations for the election today, I didn't really see so much in terms of the campaigns, the competition, the debates and all that took place compared to previous elections. And so that might have been the reason, from my point of view, that many people may not have turned out of the number that registered. And so I believe future elections might actually be better than this one in terms of percentage of voters, registered voters that will come out.
Glad that you highlighted the future elections. So let's talk about the electoral body itself, the Independent National Electoral Commission. This is the first election under the charge of the new electoral chairman. And many people have been saying that Amupitan has a lot of work cut out for him because of the baggage of the past that he seems to have inherited, and that is the inherent distrust of the people for the electoral system and some of the hiccups that we have also still seen resurfacing in this election. So how do you evaluate INEC's ability to ensure a free, fair and credible elections in future polls?
As a matter of fact, really, the test of the pudding is in the eating. is there now as the umpire, and is there to prove himself. People might be casting aspersions on him, but it's up to him to prove that he can live up to expectations. He has a history to make. He has to prove to people that his name could be kept, could be recorded in the book of Guinness Book of Records. That is one man that came out and operated the system credibly, and people will trust him, just like they trust. We have an example to give in our zone here. The lady that was the INEC Chairman that presided over the election in Anambra State is being celebrated because she stood her ground to ensure that there's credibility, to give the system a credibility that brought on stage the new governor in Anambra State. So the Amupitan has the stage to prove himself. I'm not casting aspersions on him, but it's up to him to make history in this regard. The new the management body, election management body in Anambra State, also they are new. They also have the stage, and they can make history by really doing the work and doing it creditably.
All right, Uke Uday, member of a civil rights concern, thank you so much for lending your voice to this conversation. And definitely we'll see how INEC's performance now would also be reflective of their performance in future elections, especially for the 2027 polls. Thank you. Let's get now to security matters. The Deputy Senate President, Senator Barau Jibrin, has condemned U.S. President Donald Trump for labeling Nigeria a disgraced nation. The Northern Elders Forum and the Miyetti Allah Cattle Breeders Association also criticized Trump's threats against Nigeria's sovereignty. NEF called it a dangerous pattern of foreign interference, while Miyetti Allah condemned efforts to associate the group with terrorism and religious extremism. Nigerians have been urged to demand urgent and citizen-centered action from the government amid rising cases of killings and insecurity across the country. The chairman of the Kunia Foundation and #FixPolitics Initiative, Frank Weke II, called on President Bola Tinubu to demonstrate the same urgency shown in responding to coup threats by deploying robust protection operations, holding monthly security briefings, and initiating a comprehensive review of internal security systems. He also advocated for data-driven transparency through an independent inquiry into acts of violence, improved strategic communication with religious leaders, and stronger diplomatic engagement. Nweke emphasized that true sovereignty lies in competence and respect for the rule of law, warning that Nigeria's persistent internal security lapses erode global confidence and must be urgently addressed to safeguard all citizens. Now, for years, the communities in Katsina's frontline areas have been living under constant threat. Farms abandoned, families kidnapped, lives turned upside down by violence. Now there's a new peace agreement on the table, and some see it as giving a glimmer of hope. But many others are wary, wondering if the desired peace will hold or just a pause in the chaos. Rukaya Jibia has been touring the communities and capturing the stories of those affected, stories of loss, fear, and resilience.
For years, the communities of Katsina's frontline local government areas have lived under terror of bandits. Farmers have abandoned their farms and families displaced. Kidnapping for ransom remains a daily occurrence, and millions of naira paid to secure freedom for kidnapped victims. But now, normalcy is expected to return to these communities following a new peace agreement entered into with the bandits. Initially, the state government said it was not part of the agreement, that it was a community-based peace agreement. Later, the government admitted that it was ready to negotiate with the bandits. This is Merua in Faskari local government area, one of the many communities plunged into this persistent crisis.
Har ta kai da rana ma ake zuwa, har ta kai dai kusan dukkan mutane suka tashi, da yana jin ƙauyukan da suka tashi suna da yawa a ƙasar. Gaskiya a lokacin dare da rana akwai hari. Nan garin ma kusan ba ka iya fita, da ka fita garin nan ba ka kai daga garicin gari zuwa yara can, ka ga yara can to gaskiya sai dai ka ji an ci an ɗauki mutum ko an halbi mutum.
Personal stories of abduction have become almost a daily experience.
Amma gaskiya ko ma'ina ban so ya je gurin nan, tsakanina ga Allah kawa. Duka ga kwanciya ba su a daure mana hannaye, da ta baya ake daure mana hannaye, daga nan za a daure mana kafafuwa. Idan suka kulle mu ba su ƙara kwanciya mu hashe wata yamma tayi idan za su ba mu abinci. Tuwo suke ba mu, tuwon dawa ne, daga gishiri he kuka suke ba mu, dan ko magi gaskiya babu a ciki.
Wani lokaci muna zaune gindin masallaci sai aka ce mu ga barayi sun fito, so before mu tashi kawai sai muka ji harbi ta ko'ina ba ta da ma mu mun ga masu harbin ba, saboda wanda ya ce ma ya gan ɗaya daga cikinsu, saboda irin yanayin yadda aka rice mu a wurin ba mu iya tantance cewa ga wanda ya harbe mu saboda suna da yawa. So a bisa hanyar mu ta escaping suka yi man harbi guda biyu, ɗaya a nan hannu gashi nan, ɗaya kuma a cinyata.
The financial and psychological toll of this event has crippled these communities.
Ni na shiga hannunsu haso biyu. Na shiga hannunsu ɗauka na farko wanda tun hawan Buhari na farko an ɗauke ni sai da aka yi miliyan 2.5 na gane gida. Na zo wannan tenuwar ta ƙarshe ta wannan masari ita ma an ɗauke ni sai da aka yi miliyan 5.5 na gane gidana.
To understand this conflict, one must look back. For generations, the Hausa farming communities and the Fulani herders lived side by side peacefully. But climate change, population growth, and competition over dwindling fertile land and water resources gradually began to fuel tensions. However, what started as clashes over resources was brutally exploited by criminal elements. Grievances were weaponized, self-defense groups morphed into criminal gangs, retaliatory attacks spiraled into a full-blown crisis of banditry, leading to the killing of thousands, the destruction of properties, and millions displaced from their homes.
Bahilla ce da Bahaushe zaman lahiya aka zo aka hada mu hituna saboda mi bahilla ce yana da shanu muna noma muna zaman lahiya to an zo hada mu hada ina noma ina kiwo mu da me muke takama da shi arewa.
The government's response often involved military deployment, which provided temporary relief but failed to address the root causes. Previous amnesty programs collapsed, leaving communities skeptical of any new peace deal. This current agreement is being hailed by many. It was brokered locally. The government claimed the bandits reached out for the peace deal, while locals, out of exhaustion, are left with no option. There have been troubling reports indicating a shift in the bandits' activities. The bandits appear to have redirected their attacks toward the remaining communities that did not sign the peace agreement. Notably, the communities of Kankia and Cherenchi local government areas are now bearing the brunt of these renewed hostilities. But this very agreement is a source of deep anger and suspicion for others. For victims who have lost everything, the idea of negotiating with their tormentors feels like a betrayal. This skepticism is fueled by bold acts of provocation. The bandits' argument, as relayed by community leaders, is that they were victimized and should be allowed to reconcile locally. But without disarmament, the threat remains.
Ni a ɗan hasashe na a tunanina suna ganin kamar irin lokacin siyasa ya zo da sauransu za su yi amfani da wannan damar saboda su te su yi al'amuran siyasansu da sauransu ba tare da wani abin nan ba.
For now, the farms of Meruwa, Damusa, Dutsenma, Kurfi and Birchi are accessible again. The markets are open and normal daily life restored for many. With this peace agreement, the people are caught between the trauma of the past and an uncertain future. But what peace turns out to be a lasting one depends on whether their leaders can move beyond disagreements and build a peace that takes into account justice, disarmament, and genuine reconciliation for all. In Katsina, for News Central, Rukayya Jibiya.
And now to more stories. The Nigeria police have paraded 2 suspects arrested for vandalizing railway infrastructure along the Agbo-Abraka corridor in Delta State, an act described as economic sabotage. The suspects, one from Kano and the other from Delta, were caught with metal components allegedly removed from the tracks. One suspect claimed to have been seized by herdsmen accusing them of theft, while the other denied involvement. The Nigerian Union of Railway Workers linked frequent train derailments to vandalism of critical components, while the Nigerian Railway Corporation says it will adopt new strategies and called for government support in protecting railway assets.
From NRC, Nigerian Railway Corporation, left for Agbo, between Agbo and Abraka, to go and effect repairs of the vandalized railway tracks that led to the derailment. While they were working on the railway track, they noticed a group of persons advancing towards them. This group of persons they arrested 2 young men, Mudashiru and Bolori.
I'm not into railway business. As I go for an see all these boats where full of express lose them for the track. Because now farm they do for Obeako, Delta State Okwani. Now full of investment and they lose the railway track. As we reach there, they say we'll give their food. We not give the first day they say.
The Sudanese army says it has intercepted a drone attack targeting the strategic southern city of El Obeid, allegedly launched by the Rapid Support Forces. Military officials say air defenses destroyed the drone before it reached the city, which lies on a critical supply route linking Khartoum to Darfur. The strike comes just days after the RSF claimed to accept a US-backed truce proposal. Now, analysts say the group appears to be advancing toward El Obeid after capturing El Fasher in Darfur. The conflict, ongoing since April 2023, has killed tens of thousands, displaced millions, and deepened Sudan's humanitarian crisis. And to sports, Super Eagles captain William Troost Ekong, prolific striker Victor Osimhen, and goalkeeper Stanley Nwabali headline Nigeria's 24-man squad named by head coach Eric Chelle for next week's 2026 FIFA World Cup African Playoff Tournament in Rabat, Morocco. Also listed are dependable defenders Bright Osai Samuel and Calvin Bassey, alongside midfield stalwarts Alex Iwobi, Wilfred Ndidi, and Frank Onyeka, as well as attacking wingers Samuel Chikwueze and Ademola Lookman. Among the goalkeepers, Okoye's inclusion was widely anticipated. The Udinese shot stopper is back in the national fold for the first time since June. His recall follows sustained calls for his reinstatement after recent doubts surrounding Stanley Nwabali's consistency. However, defender Oluwashimilogo Ajayi will miss the semi-final tie against Gabon due to a one-match suspension after accumulating 2 yellow cards during the qualifying campaign. Now, the Super Eagles are expected to arrive in Morocco from their various clubs across Europe and elsewhere on Monday, November 10, to commence preparations for the high-stakes encounter. Now, that's all on the news at this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of our major stories. We told you voting is underway in Anambra election. Now the vote counting is on as 16 candidates jostle for governorship seat. We also mentioned Nigerian Railway Corporation is seeking government intervention in protecting tracks. And finally, we mentioned that Sudanese army has intercepted a drone attack targeting strategic southern city of El Obeid. Remember, you may send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Also, do to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, GoTV, channel 23, StarTimes, channel 274, Apple TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Blessings Masugu.